to know how you can account for the universal laws of logic in order to argue critically for or against the existence of God. Oh, it's got everything to do with everything. Okay, so come up on the mic and let us know. Thank you. Well, the thing is, Netbeast, if we are going to argue critically and rationally concerning points in the Bible, then I first need for you to give an account for that, for the universal laws of logic, to presuppose that you are going to be able to successfully use logic and rely upon it in order to form your arguments. You need to account for where does this absolute universal laws of logic come from. And yes, One City, I'll tell you why the laws of logic must be universal and must be absolute. Because if they're not, then there's no reason to form any conclusion or to have any confidence in your arguments as being rational and logical when you would end up with a chaotic universe where something could be true and not true at the same time, where my God could exist and not exist at the same time, simply because the laws of logic break down. Okay? When are we going to discuss the Bible? Well, first, before you enter into the rational discussion, sir, about the Bible, about Jesus, about miracles, you need to give an account for the universal laws of logic. And I believe that you're actually borrowing from my worldview in order to do so. But come up on the mic and show us how you can account for these things. Okay? Go ahead. Mic is free.
I think that by posing this question and changing the subject for good, you're just defending yourself from any criticism, like making a shield, so we never get past that shield, so we can start discussing the Bible and its claims and its prophecies and its historicity and reliability, because you will say no, let's just talk about laws of logic. Let's first account for them, then we can start talking about the Bible, and that will never come. So in effect, you are avoiding all criticism of your Bible.
Well, it's very interesting, Netbeast, that you call it my shield. It's actually quite interesting you call it that, because what you're telling me now is that I'm able to defend all of your attacks simply because you can't account for the universal laws of logic. So are you conceding to the fact, sir, that in an atheistic universe you cannot account for the universal and absolute laws of logic? Is that what you're doing? Because if you can account for them, I'm willing to hear. But if you're unable to, then how can you even begin to enter into a rational discussion? Do you see the problem? So yeah, basically, in essence, in reality, I guess it is a shield, because you can't even begin to touch my Bible before you can even account for the universal laws of logic to even enter into a rational discussion itself. You have to borrow from my worldview where God exists in order to try and disprove the Bible or disprove the existence of God. You see the problem? So go ahead, try again to account for the universal laws of logic. I invite you to. Please, go ahead.
Look, like I said, with that method, you are going to uh, win the day, win the debate in the end, having justified your faith without ever discussing anything about the Bible or any proof about God, any evidence about God, any evidence about Jesus. You have proved your religion simply by saying that atheism has some epistemological problems. And I don't think that's honest and sincere apologetics. Okay? Now, the problem about the truth of the religion is a problem within your system. Okay? Like, let's just assume that I'm a Christian. Let's say I convert now. Okay? Jesus, my God, I convert. And I have questions. Okay? I have questions about your Bible. Let's talk about them.
So now you want to put on a hat. You don't want to actually defend your own position. See, this is a problem. This is why with presuppositional apologetics, and it's not being unfair, this is just what it is. We have to see what your worldview is. We see what your presuppositions are. Okay? But anyway, you want to now pretend that you're a Christian. Go ahead and argue like a Christian. What is it that you have a problem with in the Bible? Go ahead.
Look, first be a strong believer, okay? Have faith in you, act like it is indefensible, so you just don't want to come to that position when you have to defend it directly. So you have this this shield you make where you have to distract the discussion away from your Bible, so you can discuss all day about epistemology, about laws of logic, about how naturalism cannot account for this, cannot account for that, and discussion will never come to your Bible. This way, I can't believe how you can feel confident about this, about your faith, because nobody will have touched your Bible and criticized your Bible. Are you feeling good about this? Not having to discuss, not having to defend your Bible from any criticism.
Netbeast, can you tell me if you actually heard what I just said on the mic last time I was on the mic? Did you actually hear what I said? Did you hear what I said, Netbeast? You did. And what did I say to you on the mic? Yeah. So I said, okay, let's pretend you are a Christian. So, go ahead. Mic is yours.
Okay, first of all, I ask you, how do I trust the Bible, and how do I trust that it's reliable when it's conveying all these stories? And how do I trust your interpretation of all those Old Testament prophecies when Jews disagree with you in their interpretation of Messiah? Because obviously you meant a dying Messiah, when Jews do not believe in a dying Messiah, yet alone coming twice.
Actually, if you look at the historical interpretations of Isaiah chapter 53 up and until the time of Rashi, they actually did interpret Isaiah 53 as referring to the Messiah, who would be pierced for the transgressions of his people. So, your mic, sir.
Well, anyway, in any case, I don't see how this is making a strong case for Jesus, only because he claims to be the Messiah and obviously he dies. I mean, any person who claims to be the Messiah is going to die, because we are all mortals, right? So you can apply this to anyone.
Sir, are you still pretending to be a Christian? Because you just said anyone who's going to be a Messiah is going to die. I don't know if you're still pretending to be a Christian. Are you still pretending to be a Christian? Do you now presuppose the existence of miracles? Do you presuppose the existence of miracles such as resurrection? Do you presuppose that? Because you just said anyone who would be a Messiah would die. So you don't believe that God could raise someone up to heaven alive. Is that your contention? Is that your presupposition? Because you're not sounding like a Christian who has doubts. You're sounding like an atheist again. You see? God may, but no evidence he did. Oh, see, because Netbeast, because it didn't happen in front of your eyes. You see? You want God to do all these things in front of your eyes. You see? So again, you're not putting on that Christian hat. I don't know what you want to be. If you want to be an atheist, be an atheist. If you want to be a Christian, be a Christian. What are you, man? What do you want to represent? Because you just made some claims that didn't sound... It's not about me, it's about the truth of the Bible. Absolutely it's going to be about you, because it's going to be about your presuppositions. It's going to be about what assumptions you bring to the text. Okay? Very important that we look at. This is why presuppositional apologetics is so effective, because it goes to the root of the problem, which is what assumptions are you making when you get to the text. Okay? Now you made the claim that none of the Jews believed in a dying Messiah. And I just told you that Isaiah 53 was traditionally, up and until the time of Rashi, was traditionally interpreted as applying to the Messiah who would die, who would be pierced for the transgressions of his people. You did not provide a response to that. Do you want to provide a response to that? Because you kind of just wanted to shove it off. Do you want to provide a response to that? Okay, go ahead, sir.
Look, I don't know if you know about what Jews believe about the Messiah and the Messianic age, because they believe that when the Messiah comes, well, this is what you believe about heaven will become true on earth, because people will become immortal, and God will, in spirit, will come down, and there will be no more evil, and even animals will not attack each other, eat each other, right? Lions will not attack deer and stuff. And this is a new age, and the world is transformed, and no more death anymore, and people will resurrect it. No more death anymore. I mean, you do not have a Messiah dying, yet alone for the sins of his people. There's no point of that. Isaiah 53 is interpreted by Jews to mean to refer to Israel. I mean, it's not in harmony with the rest of the beliefs about the Messiah. Do you understand what Messianic age is? Do you know about what Jews believe?
Yes, in fact, there were some writings where they said that if Israel is found unworthy, then their Messiah would come riding on a donkey, and that if they were found worthy, then he would come on the clouds of heaven. So what their understanding was that there would be one coming. They didn't realize that actually there are two comings, and they thought that it depends upon what condition that they're in. They recognize that there are these two kind of situations. One is whether they are worthy or unworthy, that the Messiah would come either on a donkey or on the clouds, where we actually see that the first coming of the Messiah is that he came riding on a donkey in a lowly way. Then he is going to come a second time, which will be on the clouds, and that will be the time that he comes for judgment. So again, as I mentioned to you in Isaiah chapter 53, these were the Jewish interpretations, sir. These were the Jewish interpretations. These were the Jewish understandings. Okay? And again, Isaiah 53 Traditionally, up and until the time of Rashi, you're talking about Rashi's interpretation, which came much, much later, which was that it refers to Israel. That comes much later, sir. The traditional interpretation of Isaiah 53 is that the Messiah would die for his people. Okay? Okay, let me ask you this. Are you prepared to defend Rashi's interpretation of Isaiah 53? Are you prepared to do that? Since you seem to think that it's the more valid interpretation, are you willing to do that on the mic to defend this interpretation? Are you willing to do that? I'm going to hold to the traditional interpretation and the obviously the Christian interpretation. Yeah, verse by verse. Are you willing to do that? Yeah? Okay. Go ahead. The mic is yours. Okay, I'll read it. Who has believed what he has heard from us, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he grew up before him like a young plant, and like a root out of dry ground. He has no form or majesty that we should look at him, and no beauty that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And as one from whom men hide their faces, he was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace, and with his stripes we are healed. And we like sheep have gone astray, we have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. Like a lamb that is led to slaughter, and like a sheep that is before his shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away. And as for his generation, who considered that he was cut off out of the land of the living, stricken for the transgression of my people. And they made his grave with the wicked and with the rich man in his death, although he had done no violence, and there was no deceit in his mouth. Yet it was the will of the Lord to crush him, and he has put him to grief. When his soul makes an offering for guilt, he shall see his offspring. He shall prolong his days. The will of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. Out of the anguish of his soul he shall see it and be satisfied. By his knowledge shall the righteous one, my servant, make the many, and be accounted righteous. And he shall bear their iniquities. Yes, absolutely. Those are the children of God, but those who believe into him. Therefore I will divide with him the portion of the many, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out his soul to death, and was numbered with the transgressors. Yet he bore the sin of the many, and makes intercession for the transgressors. Okay? Yeah, absolutely. We are told that we are children of God when we believe into Christ, the one who died and resurrected from the dead. Anyway, go ahead and take the mic and tell us, work through this step by step and show us how this is applied to Israel. I'm looking forward to it. Go ahead.
Well, I think we need to refer to Jewish apologetic sites here, because once I read about this, and they had a convincing case, and well, I'm not prepared to give an defense of it now. I mean, I need to look it up first.
I find it absolutely amazing. You come in here and you start saying that this is applied to Israel, and that you're prepared to give your interpretation of it and explain it on the mic, verse by verse, step by step, and yet I give you the mic and then you won't do it. Amazing. Also, I already told you that the traditional understanding of Isaiah chapter 53 was that of the Messiah. Amazing. Anyway, what do you want to argue about now? What do you want to argue about now, sir? I can't prove that, can I? What, that the Isaiah 53 applies to the Messiah? Okay, go ahead, your mic.
Well, let's say that Jews traditionally believe that Isaiah 53 is a prediction of prophecy about the Messiah, but that doesn't mean anything, because after all, when Jesus gets killed and his followers look at Isaiah 53 and they say, oh, that's why, and then they start inventing this whole doctrine about him and all theology about him, and this is how it happened. I mean, how do we know that Jesus was really sent by God? How do we know there is a God at all? How do we know that Isaiah's words are really inspired to have to become true in the future?
Okay, so now you're not only attacking the Christian position, but you're also attacking the Jewish position, because now you're attacking the inspiration of Isaiah chapter 53. Again, Isaiah 53 prophesies in great detail the death of the Messiah, and when you come to the life of Jesus, now you're trying to tell me that this was all just maneuvered. It was shaped to try and fit Jesus during his lifetime. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, sir? That this was all manipulated in order to try and fit? It's a coincidence. It's a coincidence that Jesus just happened to be called Messiah. It's a coincidence that he just happened to be born in Bethlehem, the place that he was prophesied to be born in. It's just a coincidence that he called himself a Messiah. Now think about it, sir. Think about it. What would be the easiest way? What would be the easiest way to dispel Christianity? What would be the easiest way to dispel Christianity? Would be to not crucify him, right? So that it wouldn't fit the prophecy. You see? Yes, of the tribe of Judah. Yes. The Lion of the tribe of Judah, Jesus Christ. But Netbeast, where is the Messianic age? What are you talking about, the Messianic age? You talking about the time when the Messiah will rule with his people for 1,000 years? Is that what you're talking about? When the Messiah will reign with his people? Forever? Okay, so like as it mentions in the New Jerusalem. Yeah, that has not come yet. That time has not come yet. Okay? But in a sense, you could say, Netbeast, in a sense, the Lord is reigning through his people, but it is in a spiritual sense because he has come to live in them, and he is reigning in them by the life in which they lead, which is contrary to the fallen nature. Yeah? But he will come in a visible way when he comes on the clouds. Okay? So saith you. See, I don't know which people you're appealing to. You're appealing to the late Jews who came, like from Rashi onwards, to appeal to the interpretation of Isaiah 53. I mean, you're going to pick and choose people. But just to let you know, just in case you forgot this little detail, sir, the earliest disciples of Jesus were actually Jews. Okay? And the even Isaiah 53 shows that the Messiah is pierced for the transgressions of his own people. And the Bible shows that he is rejected and despised by his own people, sir. So that's the problem that you have. But getting back to this matter, you are saying, let's just presuppose that Isaiah 53 was prophesying the Messiah. How do we know that Jesus that Jesus was not just a false Messiah? So you're saying that Jesus is a false Messiah? In what way was he a false Messiah, sir? How was he a false Messiah? In what way was Jesus a false Messiah? In the sense that he didn't usher in the Messianic age. Again, I've told you that in two ways. Number one, invisibly, he has come into the believers through reigning in them, and he is building his church. Matthew chapter 16, verse 16 to 18. Yeah? So he is actually building his church, which is synonymous with his kingdom. His church is his kingdom. Okay? So he's ruling and reigning through his church, through his people. Yeah? Then, visibly, he will come back on the clouds. This is mentioned even in the book of Acts, chapter 1, verse 11, I believe. And it's also mentioned in Mark chapter probably 14 to 61. I might have my verse reference wrong. Okay? No one knows the day or the hour. I'm sorry to tell you, I'm not Harold Camping. I don't claim to know the day or the hour when Jesus will return. Okay? Where do you get that from, sir? Where do you get that from? Where do you get that from? Where do you get this 2,000 years from? Yeah, and you're beginning to sound like the people of Noah's time. You're beginning to sound like the people of Noah's time. But anyway, that aside, can you demonstrate to us that Jesus... okay, you want to get to the resurrection, right? You haven't been able to really bring anything meaningful regarding the crucifixion, but let's go to the resurrection. Come and tell us what you think happened at the after the crucifixion took place. Tell us what happened, okay? If he wasn't resurrected from the dead, I want to hear your interpretation from your perspective. What happened to Jesus? Go ahead, your mic.
Well, obviously his followers invented some stories about him. That's how it is, right? Of course he wasn't resurrected. People don't come back to life after they die.
So what happened to the body, sir? What happened to the body? The Jews accused the disciples of stealing the body. Is that what you believe happened? Do you believe that the disciples stole the body of Jesus? Go ahead, your mic.
Now that's a possibility, but then again, we don't even know that he was buried in a tomb. Maybe he was thrown out in the Valley of Hinnom. You know, that's where they threw the corpses of criminals who get executed.
Actually, no, sir. It's even found in the Jewish writings that the accusation is made that Jesus' body was stolen from the tomb. So again, I'm going to ask you, was Jesus' body stolen from the tomb? The accusation is made. I want to know what happened. You say that's a possibility, okay? So now I want you to come up on the mic and explain to us why the disciples of Jesus would be willing to be martyred for a faith that they know is false. Go ahead, your mic.
Well, obviously not all of them knew that it was a lie, and perhaps their faith was already secured without rising Messiah, right? Perhaps they believed that he was already Messiah, even if he didn't come back to life.
Sir, no, the faith that they were preaching is very consistent. It is that Jesus Christ died and he resurrected. That was the basis of the gospel, believing into the Christ who died and was raised from the dead. So again, I'm going to ask you the same question. How do you account for these disciples who were willing to be martyred for a faith that they knew to be false, if in fact they simply stole the body and Jesus' body was not raised from the dead? Your mic.
Well, it's not. We can't know what was going on in their minds. Well, we, uh, we need more information about what happened with their early church and their first crisis when Jesus died. Well, I don't think that. I mean, there must be some explanation within natural bounds.
And I think this concludes our discussion, which brings us back to exactly what I was talking about before, and that is that you have your atheistic presupposition that God doesn't exist. There must be a naturalistic explanation for it somewhere, because people don't raise from the dead, because miracles don't exist, because God doesn't exist. Well done, sir. You just proved again that atheism has absolutely no answers. Mic is free. Guys, let this be a lesson. You see, this room is not even about atheism and Christianity. It's really about Islam and Christianity, but I allowed the conversation to take place. I gave him the opportunity to give an account for the universal laws of logic. He couldn't. The whole reason for that is because I wanted to demonstrate that atheism cannot even pass the first hurdle, cannot pass even the first marker when it comes to criticizing Christianity, cannot even account for the universal laws of logic in which to enter rational discourse to begin critiquing the Bible or its claims. Then he wanted to suppose he was a Christian, a doubting Christian. He wanted to put on another hat. He was ashamed of his atheism, so he had to pretend he was a Christian. Yeah? But when he was arguing as a Christian, now he wanted to put on his Jewish hat, modern rabbinical Jew, and start denying the traditional understanding of Isaiah 53 and go to the much later interpretation of Isaiah 53. He could not provide a response to that either. Then, when we decided to go to the actual resurrection itself, because we weren't really getting anywhere with him, again, he couldn't find a single explanation to the fact that the early disciples proclaimed the faith that Christ had died and Christ had risen. And yet they were the ones that supposedly had stolen the bodies. Was this guy turning back into an atheist again? Was he a rabbinical Jew? I don't know what he was, but he kept changing his role every time I was pressing him on his points. Then at the end he says, well, there must be some rational explanation. We just don't know what it is. Oh dear. It's out there somewhere. It's like when those atheists say, well, we don't know about the answer of the universe or how it got here, but we're working on it. It's out there somewhere. Oh dear. That's just funny. Anyway, I'm I'm going to save this. I think this was quite a useful interaction, and I'm going to put this on YouTube. I think it was quite educational. Mic is free.